stage as other picks, but no, we're very happy with the squad we've put together.
Well done. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Wolf, we'll go straight to you.
Yeah, he was on the list, so I think Coach and Usman will be pretty happy with that. And then obviously Renegades went with tactical move with the way the wicket's going to play with the left arm spin. So yeah, two interesting moves.
Been a good night for the Melbourne Renegades, as they revealed. They got all three that they intended to pick, and they'll walk away very happy tonight. The Sydney Sixers, their final selection of the draft. Chris Jordan in round 1, James Vince round 2, had to pass in round 3, very honest, and saying that didn't have the money to spend, but now they have their final selection in round 4. The pick is in.
Chris Jordan, James Vince and?
Israelak Naveen.
Right, tell me about Mr Naveen.
Mike talked about young talent, 18-year-old Afghanistani leg spinner.
Right, so that's fascinating. So where do you get the...
Carrying the world. We watched the last World Cup where he played and did particularly well, spins the ball vigorously both directions. We've got, and we think he complements our other spinners in Stephen O'Keefe, Nathan Lyon and Todd Murphy, who are already in our squad. So we think we've got a nice balance of spin bowlers to throw at the competition.
So when do you make contact with him and say, welcome along to the Sydney Sixers?
Probably right after this show.
Right, we'll leave you to jump on the phone then.
No worries.
Thanks, Shippy.
He'll be loving that phone call. As you alluded to before, Huss, this is what the Big Bash is about. These little known players, or in terms from an Australian point of view, and we're about to learn a lot more about him this summer.
Have we got the next Rashid Khan coming through? You know, it's a great pick, and they needed another spinner, I think. So I think the Sydney Sixers will be absolutely delighted with the squad that they've been able to put together for this edition of the Big Bash.
Well, they've got Murphy, they've got Lyon. Lyon will come back at the back half, won't they? So young legs.
A lot of these, availability seemed to be the word that came up a lot tonight.
Yeah, well, you're looking for continuity, aren't you, through your season? I think the challenges that the big BBL teams have faced the last couple of years have been their international players coming in and out, and you get 2 or 3 games out of one. You've got to try and fill that slot with someone of a similar... out, you've got to have money to fill their voids as well. So that's the other side of it, and that's, you know, when you're trying to balance your salary caps, not an easy thing to do.
I guess coming in, the fact you picked 3 Pakistanis probably raised the eyebrow a couple of times. You guys have probably pulled the biggest surprises in the draft as a group.
Yeah, maybe. I think, but Shadab and our first couple of picks were exactly the ones that we're after. You know, we were surprised that Shadab got to where he did. It was a hole in our squad that we needed to fill with, you know, a quality spinner that's a 3-dimensional player. We wanted to add some power in our middle order. I'm sure other teams would have spoken about Asif Ali. I think Brisbane has spoken about him. We heard Buff talk about that. That's exactly the role that we needed. We've got, you know, with the guys that we retained with Short, Wade, McDermott, we've got really good, solid top order batting, and we wanted to strengthen our power in the middle around Tim David, and I think we've done a pretty good job with that today.
Thanks, mate. Well done.
Cheers.
Might just go down and have a bit of a chat to the Melbourne Stars. David Hussey kicked us off with the second pick. Huss, what are your overall thoughts on what the Green team are bringing to the MCG?
Yeah, we're wrapped. We've got every player that we wanted to play, to select. Yeah, we're absolutely wrapped. I adhere to Ricky's comments where go all out to have player availability. That's a big key, but also good people that fit in the dressing room perfectly.
Take us behind the scenes for the last 3-4 weeks about the discussions, what comes to the table and how much work has gone into tonight.
lots of work's gone in, using networks throughout the world, through England for myself and throughout India, and yeah, Benny's got also contacts as well, Clint Mackay and Glenn Maxwell as well. But we'll have an open discussion about what should happen and what players we actually need, and player availability is probably the biggest key.
Well done. Can't wait for the season.
Thank you.
Just before we go, we might go and have a chat to Jason Gillespie, who pulled that retention pick with Rashid Khan. You got your number one boy, and he had a big smile on his face as well. So I guess that's a massive positive for you, for membership, for audience, for crowds, and for on-field performance.
Yep, all of the above.
Heard Huss talking about how much work's gone into it. Have you enjoyed the process?
Yeah, most certainly. I think other guys have mentioned it's been a bit of work, and you know, Jared Harkness, our analyst, and Tim Nielsen and I've been spending a lot of time together. Jared's had the draft flow chart with all the permutations that could happen based on, you know, other teams' decisions, but the three players that we've managed to get were very high priority, and we're delighted to be able to get them.
The pressure moment of every pick seemed to come like it was when Jared, he's leaning over the computer and he's got people making sure he gets the right pick, because once it's in, it's in.
Yeah, once it's in, so yeah, we made him very aware of that. So he was fine though. Jared's been outstanding for us, and you know, as I said, we're delighted.
Congratulations. So everyone seems really happy with their picks. A lot of work's obviously gone into it, and most of the teams have got exactly what they wanted. So good draft all round, and some guns to see once the Big Bash kicks off in December.
Good stuff, Mark Howard. It's amazing how many teams are walking away with their first three picks, the players they wanted. They've got all three.
Yeah, I mean, every team will be pretty happy with what they needed, especially around availability, but also what fitted their side and where they play.
Yeah, I agree. Everyone sounded extremely happy. Who do you think are the biggest winners tonight, though, Buff?
Brisbane Heat. You know, obviously, the first two picks they're really happy with, and then that it's chop and change down their list for their third pick, but Wiley's outstanding, so there's no problems there. I would think probably the ones like someone like Renegades, who had the first pick, they were happy with Livingston, and then they got Majid, didn't they? So yeah, everyone's going to be happy, though.
Let's relive the night. And recap all selections, beginning with the first ever selection of the first ever Big Bash draft, the Melbourne Renegades. They took Liam Livingston, Majid in the second round, then Akil in the fourth round. So
yeah, left arm.
Facing lots of spin, and then you've got Liam Livingston, can also bowl a few handy leggies, but wow, he hits massive square of the wickets, and the boundaries are a little bit shorter, square of the wickets at Marvel.
Ground's not big enough for him. Wherever it is, he hits a big ball, so they've gone the three spinners. If you look here, I mean, he swings, that's not a small hit, that's gone on the roof at Monica. That's a big hit, and he plays 360, but he's got real power. In the last 12 months, he's dominated, you know, international cricket for England. So, and he bowls leg spin and off spin, so they'll be happy. They've got 12 overs of spin coming up.
What I love about him is he's just completely fearless with the bat. You know, like sometimes if the team loses a couple of early wickets and Livingston comes out to the crease, you think, oh, I'll just play careful for an over or two here. No, he just gets on with it right from the word go. He's a great signing, and he's going to light up the Big Bash again, I think.
So the Melbourne Renegades pack up and leave with all three men they wanted to secure it tonight. So happy days for the Renegades. What about for their crosstown rivals, the Melbourne Stars? So they did try to get Rashid Khan, knowing he probably would be retained by the Adelaide Strikers, and that he was. So they've settled with Trent Boult, but it's pretty good settlement, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, and I think he suits their team perfectly, Trent Boult. He's a great signing. He'll be dangerous at the top of the order, and we all know how important wickets in that first six, that power play can be. He's been very good at that. So, yeah, it's a great signing. We were wondering if they were going to retain Andre Russell, or they needed a bowler to really shore up that new ball bowling. So I think they've done a great job. We thought they'd get Joe Clark back as that wicketkeeper batter as well, and they seem pretty impressed with Luke Wood as well.
Yeah, they're very good all-round selections. The only thing I would say, two left-arm opening bowlers, you know they're going to open with Luke Wood, who swings it, and so with Trent Boult. So that's probably the only thing, but they'll be happy with that. I mean, Joe Clark was fantastic for them last year, wasn't he? He was unbelievable, and they needed a keeper.
Yeah. Probably some interesting conversations being had amongst all the team members tonight now, saying, oh, were you going to go here?
much so. That really shores up our top six. If you had, when you think of the blokes coming back after Test duty, hopefully Usman Khawaja and Marnus Labuschagne, these guys, Sam Billings can back up keep if he needs. He's a gun fielder as well. And he's hurt us at Brisbane Heat a few times. Plays all around the wicket and had a lot of success for the Thunder. And he brings that experience in the middle order and plays spin extremely well. So that's that one there. And Colin Munro the same at the top of the order. So two very good signings and have played well all around the world.
Yeah, Billings and Munro have both really improved their T20 cricket a lot over the last few years. And I think the Heat would have been nervous with both of those selections because there was a chance for a right to match for the Perth Scorchers with Munro and Sydney Thunder with Sam Billings, but they chose not to. So I think the Heat will be absolutely delighted with how it finished up.
Sam Billings pretty handy on the player mic too, so we're pumped for Fox cricket as well. Let's move on to the Sydney Sixers, and it was an interesting night for the Sixers. Chris Jordan in round one, James Vince in round two. They tried to get Laurie Evans, but of course the Scorchers retained Laurie Evans after his heroics last summer for them. And then round four, a little-known player that we don't know much about. I'm not too sure whether
you... the pronunciation there, or are you just going to stick with
Naveed? Mr. Naveed. But are you two familiar with him?
No, not well enough anyway. But Jordan, for example, that was especially around the time when you had Pollard and Russell still available. But he's played there before. He's a good player, Chris Jordan. He can bowl to death, as they said, and a good lad. So he'll fit into that team really well. They know him, as I said. So that's probably the key. But